It is time to step it up, as we are going to be looking at the best evil hero monster that has been created so far, this being the new evil hero Doom Prison, and explain why it's going to take evil heroes and heroes as a whole to the next level. Now, starting off, evil hero Doom Prison is a very interesting monster for a few reasons, but the first one that really is striking is the fact that it is actually a rock monster. It is the first hero monster that happens to be a rock monster, so that's pretty interesting, and it being a light rock is just kind of funny because it reminds me of a specific monster that hero players hate that I'll talk about in another video probably, but I just find that funny, making heroes have their own light rock. But there's something really interesting with evil hero Doom Prison, and we're going to talk about it right now. So starting off, the first thing that I like about its first effect is that it just summons itself while you control a fusion monster that has that can be made with dark fusion. This is important because in the evil hero strategy, this is obviously meant to kind of restrict the evil hero monster's usages to strategies centered around using dark fusion, so people can't really abuse it as much. But more importantly than that, the key here when we look at Doom Prison is the fact that it is a light monster, so it does have different attributes and it can synergize with other hero monsters. But let's talk about the big reason that I think it's the best evil hero monster, and it's actually in its secondary effect. So what it reads is you can send one hero monster from your deck to the graveyard as cost. Then if you fusion summon a hero monster this turn, this face-up card can be used as a substitute for any one fusion material whose name is mentioned on it, but the other materials must be correct. So you're probably wondering why this effect is so good. Well, this effect is absolutely insane in heroes for a few reasons. If we look at just evil heroes, this is really good because it allows you to send monsters you may need, especially in conjunction with a lot of the new support cards. You can fusion summon from your grave, so that's good. But when we talk about heroes as a broader strategy, the first thing that comes to mind is you now have another way to dump Malicious and send Shadow Mist, or send any hero you need corresponding that has effects in the grave, something like a Denier. But the main thing that gives Doom Prison its power is the fact that this is for cost of its effect, where its actual effect is getting access to being a fusion substitute monster. This means that Doom Prison at its core is simply sending a card for cost, and that's just insane. Like, I think most people haven't realized how good this is right now in heroes, that when we get this card, because Doom Prison absolutely changes the way you play the deck because it is such a strong cost and a good effect. Now, its additional effect, obviously, as it lets itself be treated as a fusion substitute card, is really good, but it's really good in more minor situations because in heroes, this isn't going to matter as much, but in evil heroes, I think this matters a whole lot more because now you have access to your new Inferno Wing, you have access to Neos Lord. The point is you now have access to cards that need specific materials a lot easier, and you can meet the requirements by having a monster just turn into the named card you need. So this makes Doom Prison powerful. Now, let's continue to talk about why Doom Prison is made even better thanks to the rest of the support wave. Evil hero Doom Prison would be great no matter what if there was no more spells or trap support, but because of the spell and trap support we received in Supreme Darkness, this takes Doom Prison to the next level. So the first thing is going to be the aforementioned and probably the best spell of the support, which I'll talk about in a full-length video, but we'll talk about here, is Evil Assault, which works and functions as the e-tally for the strategy by pitching a card. Luckily, it can summon Doom Prison or add it to your hand. So for the evil hero branch, even though they are the most few in level 4 or lower monsters, they have probably the second best spell card to get them to the hand or field in Evil Assault, just right behind A Hero Lives, because A Hero Lives is literally very broken. But the point I'm trying to get across here is that with Evil Assault's effect to summon this thing or add it to your hand, you are now able to take this card and find a way to get it to your hand just at the cost of discarding a card. So already the hero strategy has an entire new set of layers thanks to Supreme Darkness support, but Doom Prison becomes even more powerful because it has a card that allows it to come out a lot easier. This is one of the reasons that I think at first Doom Prison probably wouldn't have been seen as too good, but the reason or as good is simply based on the fact that summoning this monster wasn't the easiest thing, because by adding it to your hand through a normal hero combo, you would be restricted to having to summon this monster without having a way to do it properly with an effect, because you usually use your normal summon at the most apparent times of combos. So by the time this card got to your hand, the biggest problem was how would you get it to the field. And additionally, thanks to a Dusted Gold already existing, this is another card you can search off of a Dusted Gold because it does mention Dark Fusion in its text. I think this is the reason why Doom Prison is just super good, because even in the more focused Evil Hero builds, this card is going to be a mainstay at 3, but in the specific hero versions that are more like Omni Heroes, or even other branches like maybe Pure Destiny or more Pure Destiny, or even something like Pure Vision, this card allows their decks to function a bit better by sending pieces you may need. As any hero monster can be sent from the deck to the grave, it means at any point that you want to retrieve something, or you want to send something for a search, or you want to send a card that you might want for maybe some other interaction, you have access to it. And combined with the rest of the Evil Hero support, I do believe that once I finish all the other videos, I will be making a video solely based on the entire wave of support and explaining why Evil Heroes and their support that they receive has changed heroes forever. Well, that's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. There are so many more applications you could do with Evil Hero Doom Prison, but for right now, this is where I'm going to leave it off, and when we get the support, we can start tinkering with it more. It is time once again. As you can tell by the thumbnail, we're talking about the big boss of the Supreme Darkness support for Evil Heroes, as it's time to look at Evil Hero Neos Lord and why it's actually a fantastic card, whether you're playing the Evil Heroes relatively pure or playing heroes as a whole. So when we're starting off and looking at this card, obviously this is basically your best way of saying, here's an anime reference. Obviously it's Supreme King and Jaden basically mixing together with Neos. So that's already just getting the elephant out of the room. The summoning conditions is what I think is very interesting. So you can either use Elemental Hero Neos or one fusion monster that mentions it, and then an effect monster on the field. The reason I think this is actually really interesting is that for specifically pure heroes, if you can summon Neos for whatever reason, you now have a way to make a pretty interesting monster. For specifically the Neos-based, like Neospatian versions of the decks, this is really interesting because now you can kind of just convert Neos and a Neospatian, if for whatever reason you brick, into this monster, and it does work as an interruption or an interaction with your opponent. So that is also very important here. For the most interesting thing, I guess, about this is that it has to be special summoned with Dark Fusion, so you're going to have to find a way to do that unless you can summon through, ignoring summoning conditions. This is kind of the problem, I think, with it as a whole for those variants, but I do think for Evil Heroes this is a big boost because it kind of just ties it together more with the other existing hero cards, so that's really cool. Additionally, when we look at both its first and second, or technically its first and second effects, the second one is a continuous card effect where it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, so already it is a boss monster, so it's already got a lot more protection, believe it or not, than like a majority of the hero monsters, so that's kind of hilarious. But for its more important effect, if this card is special summoned, or if a monster or monsters is sent to your opponent's graveyard while this monster is on the field, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and you get to take control of it. Already, this makes Evil Hero Neos Lord, I wouldn't say insanely broken, but very, very good. It makes it very, very good for a few reasons. The biggest reason, I think, is that now you can basically put up a big threat to a lot of decks, because if they don't know how to interact with this, the problem is a lot of people are used to losing their resources by going to the grave or getting spun or something. In this case, for heroes, by taking the material away from the opponent or a monster, you can kind of set up how you want to deploy Evil Hero Neos Lord, in that when you use it in conjunction with something maybe like super polymerization, which is now accessible in heroes, you can kind of see what you can do with this, because the main focus, I think, is in its material. Because you can use a fusion monster that mentions Elemental Hero Neos, this is huge because you can now use Neos Wingman, you can use effectively any of the other Neos fusions if you really want to. You can use something like Arm Neos or Rainbow Neos, which technically don't really see play, but you could build a deck around that where you can kind of just maybe find a way to set up something like going for, Neo's fusion and then kind of getting access to Super Poly that way. This card can basically say, well, once that monster's effect is used, let's just convert it into Neos Lord, and I think that's really cool. Now, you're probably wondering, how are you supposed to get past that lock of being only special summoned with Dark Fusion? Well, you have two ways to do it. The first way to do this is going to be in Favorite Contact. Because Favorite Contact ignores summoning conditions, you can summon this, but you have to make sure you're using a monster from the field. So if at any point you shuffle back like Neos or a monster that lists it, and you don't shuffle back a monster from your field as well, you're already, that's illegal. You can't do that. However, Super Poly obviously can get around this in conjunction with Evil Hero Infernal Rider. This is kind of the key monster you want to use for the hero strategies, both evil and like more Omni Hero based. Because Evil Hero Infernal Rider has that specific condition to allow you to fusion summon your Evil Hero monsters through other means, it really does allow the deck to fix that issue that it's always had, and allows Omni Heroes as well to abuse it, because obviously we're summoning heroes for the remainder of the duel. This doesn't change. And taking a material is big, and if you're wondering why it's big, well, there's a few reasons. In heroes, you have to be somewhat resourceful because your deck only has so many different plays. With this ability of Neos Lord to take a monster, the reason this is huge is that maybe you take away what your opponent needed to play, so maybe they're just stuck, or you take away something, so now you have ammo for DPE, so now you can just destroy cards on the field instead of itself. It's keeping that attack reduction lock on key on your opponent, against your opponent, can win the game sometimes. A lot of times with heroes, if your opponent whittles down your board and they think they've got it, the problem they'll run into is the layer of interactions here. And in this case, if they run into a situation where they can clear your board, but they can't attack over anything, having Neos Lord take away a monster just so you can pop a monster with DPE on your field and pop one of theirs, effectively you're just turning it into a net plus for you because you're outing two of their cards through different interactions. So, that is also huge. Also, remember, Evil Hero Neos Lord does not say you return the monster that's taken control of. You get to keep it. And this is huge for multiple reasons, but the biggest reason here is that by keeping the monster, your opponent doesn't get it back. Sometimes your opponent wants you to get it off the field, like through link summoning or even fusion summoning in this case, or even tribute summoning. In this case, you can literally do anything you want with it. It could be fuel for plasma to go into plasma with the 3 monsters you need. This could be used for DPE. This could be used for, any type of tribute summon you want to perform with some of the monsters. There's a lot you can do with it, and I think that's the key factor here, is that you're able to really abuse Neos Lord in a good way, and it really is fair for heroes because for the most part, they don't have too many interactions like this, so this is a really cool and new tool for them to play with, and I actually can't wait because I do think this card does get a big seal of approval here just because of how powerful it is. And when I finally finish the whole series, I'll talk about kind of looking at the Supreme Darkness support and how good it is. But pretty much this is where we're going to stop here with Evil Hero Neos Lord. This card is actually very good. It meshes well into both strategies, and I can't wait to see what it does. And this has been Brad from the Ed Army signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.